where you're listening from, it's a matter of different time zones across the United States and across the world. I have a very important guest with me today, and you'll hear a lot about what he has to say as it relates to you failing. You talk about defeatism, and you'll also talk about adversity and if it's possible for us to overcome adversities. Many of us have gone through adversities, perhaps in our childhood, even as adults. And is it possible to overcome adversities and to move on with our lives as we grow, as we confront our potentials and the opportunities that are ahead of us? Let's let my guest in and hear what he has to say about that. Avi Wolfson, how are you doing, Wolfson?
Hey,
I get that right.
yeah, you got it, Dr. Canyouth. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good, Avi. I like to find out from you first. Who is Avi? Let me get there first.
Sure, sure. That's a great place to start. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here. So, Avi, who am I? One of my friend's grandmothers told me every 10 years of our life we grow and we become somebody different. The person you were and I was 10 years ago is not the same. Mentally, physically, we change, right? The cells in our
Yeah.
bodies change. So we're such different people. I mean, the core of who I am has always been the same, right? Um, we all have a purpose on this world, in this world, to help other people, right?
Yeah.
And find solutions to problems, whether that's adversity or growing. I think we're all ultimately have have something that we're supposed to do in this world. And for a long time, I didn't know what that was.
Yeah.
So I did have some interesting experiences growing up, but for a very long time, I didn't actually know what I wanted to do. Um, but later on, through exploration, self-discovery,
Right.
I did find that, I want to become a speaker. I want to help people
Mhm.
struggling with mental health, adversity, like you had mentioned, Dr.
Yeah.
Canute. So many things, right? Because we need, what the core of what we need is we need better leaders in this world, right?
Hmm.
Like when we think of like the people who are supposed to be the best examples, right? The politicians who run the
Right.
countries, they call the shots, they make all those decisions on behalf of the citizens, right? But
Yeah.
most of the time, they don't do a very good job, right?
Hmm.
Or there are just loopholes and things that aren't done right. And for me, that I take that to it's a very simple, which is absolute power corrupts absolutely, and it
Right.
and it does. When you have that much power and free range to just call shots and do what you want
Yeah.
without being heavily monitored, you can get away with a lot of things. And we're
Yeah.
human, so you can't really fault it, but there should be checks and balances.
Yeah.
So I've changed a lot from where I started. I've done a lot of different things. I consider myself an entrepreneur, so I've dabbled in a lot of different things. Publishing.
Yeah.
I was in the military for a few years in my younger days. Um, Now I want to become a public speaker.
Okay.
So that's something that's big, and I'm also a co-founder of All Star Parent, which is a parenting newsletter, and I also work in sales. So I dabble in a lot of
A
different
lot of
things, Doctor Canoe.
interesting. Interesting. One of my guests recently suggested that that quote that you mentioned, absolute power corrupts absolutely. I guess he was saying that hey, it's about politics, political
Yes.
power, not the power that you and I might have in the organization or so on. So
Yes.
so that's good. But you talk about we changing every 10 years, according to what your grandparents said, and it suggests that can the same man step in the same water twice? No, because the man has changed based on his experience,
Yes.
over
Yes.
time, and the water changes as well because of the sediments and the elements of the environment that
Yes.
connects with the water. And again, I just did on Upper Podcast a podcast that I call Knowledge Break, and I talk about aging, and the fact that we change as we age. So that's important that you have said these things. But we talk about change as we age. I'm going to be asking you a question, and I ask all my guests. If you have been watching my podcast, you know the question.
Yeah.
Okay, your childhood. Talk to me. How do you change? Throughout, to be.
It's interesting, Dr. Canoe, because we always think like a bad childhood, right? But
Mhm,
there's a book I read recently called Soul Blazing,
mhm.
by Lisa Haisha,
Yeah,
and it is a phenomenal book because she talks about she's like a very spiritual person, and she
yeah,
understands um how important the impact is of our childhood. She talks about we all have an inner child. Nobody
yeah,
in this
yeah.
world
Mhm.
goes through childhood without some frustration or dealing with some sort of
Yeah,
pain, right?
yeah, you're
That
right.
that we carry with us into adulthood, right?
Yeah,
And maybe we don't even consciously think about it, but there is an inner child
yeah,
inside you, inside me,
mhm,
in all of us, right?
yeah,
And what happens is we carry those pains, whatever they might be, and they manifest as masks, right?
mhm, mhm,
We put on a mask, right, to cover
yeah,
that pain. So it's a very interesting concept, in terms of like who who we are and how we change. But I think for me, so the whole point I was trying to make is that our
yeah.
childhood, even if it's bad, it can make us much stronger, right?
Of
Because
course.
people say like, "Oh, this is terrible, this is wrong." Well, sure, you want to identify that, but you don't want
Mhm.
to harp on that and just constantly feel victimized, right?
Yeah,
Oh, I can't be fixed. My life is ruined. Because at times I felt like that. I felt like, wow, my parents did a really terrible job. Like, but
yeah,
there are positive things from that, right? I learned all the things not to do for my daughter
yeah,
that
yeah.
I learned from my parents what they did wrong. So
Okay.
it all depends on the lens through which we're viewing our life, right?
Yeah,
If we're solely focused on our failures, we'll never be able to use positive motivation to propel us forward towards our goals and aspirations. And that's
yeah,
very important. It's very important. We look at the positive too. And even in bad situations, we can find posit- positivities. We can find victories even within our losses and through
yeah,
adversity. It builds. We build character. We become stronger. We become more resilient. And I think that in my childhood, I just felt like I was never understood. I was never seen for who I am, and I
okay,
was oftentimes forced to be somebody that I didn't want to be. Right.
okay,
So I had a very religious upbringing,
yeah,
and for a long time, I was like, "Oh, this is terrible." And I finally spoke to a doctor, and they told me, "Oh, yeah, yeah, that's called brainwashing." It was like, "Oh,
yeah,
phew." I was able to let that go and forgive
right,
that because
right,
I can't
mhm,
go back and make it right. But I
yeah,
can take I can take that childhood and I can say, I'm not going to let this identify me as a person. I'm going to take this and extract the positivity out of it and use it to motivate me and help me in other areas like public speaking, things
yeah,
that I want to do, right? Because I
yeah,
didn't have a good upbringing, but I can make a positive path for other parents so
right,
they give their kids a better upbringing. And
yeah.
that's what I did, and it was so powerful.
Mhm. Yeah, that's important though, because I also have a bad childhood, so to speak, adversity, so, and I think I have become a better parent because of the bad childhood, that I had. I
Yes.
don't drink. My father was an alcoholic, and because of what I've seen, I just don't drink. So I think that you're right. It helps you to become better at parenting your children and growing your family. It's important. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
But you talk about that, but this thing about failing, and should we try to avoid it? Because based on what you have said just now and what I it basically reiterated, it seems as if allow adversity to happen, allow failures to happen, because it will help you to grow later and help you to be better. Talk to me about that.
Nobody in life goes through life unless you are the son of a king or somebody very high in royalty. Even then, everybody experiences failure. Trying
Yeah,
to avoid failure is trying to avoid our ability to learn, right?
yeah,
When we grow up as children, we get sick a lot.
yeah,
But when we get sick, we build up immunity to be able to help us as we get older to fight off viruses, diseases.
Yeah.
So we get sick, but when we overcome those obstacles, when we get healthy, it makes us stronger, right?
Yeah.
So, and it's the same thing with mindset, right?
Mhm.
So uh, failure is actually really important, right? Without failure, we won't be able to recognize prime opportunities. And there's a couple of examples I have too.
Okay.
Um, it's that without learning through failure, we wouldn't be able to recognize prime opportunities. So don't ever feel bad for failing. It's part of the process of learning and achieving success,
Mhm.
and also through trial and error. So it's
Yeah.
important that we fail. Muhammad Ali, he got knocked out.
Yeah.
So did Mike Tyson.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
best, even the best in the world,
Yeah.
life is ebbs and flows. Everybody gets knocked down, but
Yeah.
it's not about how many times you get knocked down. It's about how many times you get back up.
Yeah.
And that's the core of what failing is. It's getting back up. It's learning the lessons that we learned when we were down that round,
Mhm.
and we come back harder and stronger and say, oh, I remember this. I'm
Yeah.
going to take this with me, so you don't make that same mistake, or you've learned to do it a better way, whatever it is in life that you are trying to succeed at, right?
Yeah.
um
Yeah.
so failure is really important. It's We want to view failure as more of like a learning opportunity rather than a threat,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So it's important.
That's good because I love to watch true stories on Netflix and so on. And McDonald's story, that franchise, they they fail a lot, in bringing this to fruition. And it's important that we understand the importance of failure, as you have said. But what is the strategy for basically reaching one's goals and achieving success?
Great question. Great question. So I have a great quote that I really love. You've heard of Walt Disney?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, everybody knows. Yeah, so Walt Disney, so he was a man that had a lot of success, but he also had a lot of failures.
Hmm. Hmm.
And he said, uh, all the adversity and all the adversity I faced in my life, all my obstacles and troubles have strengthened me.
Yeah.
If you can dream it, you can achieve it. And then there's another quote by um, Greg Reed, and he said, "A dream written down with a date becomes a goal. A
Okay.
goal broken down into steps becomes a plan,
Yeah.
and a plan backed by action
Mm.
makes your dreams come true."
Wow. Yeah.
That is the core of how we take adversity, overcome it. We have to plan
Yeah.
accordingly, and it doesn't actually, this is a mistake that I made a lot. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, this is my goal, I'm going to get it done this week.
Yeah.
Right? We need to break that down. We need to get really granular with it, because otherwise we don't have a grasp on it. We can't, it's just too broad. It's too broad. We need to be
Right.
able to break that down to manageable bite-sized chunks, right?
That's
Because
important.
if
Yeah.
you try to it's biting off more than you can chew, it's not gonna go well, and then you get frustrated being like, man, I really wanted to accomplish this yet by tomorrow, and it's just not realistic.
So how
Everything.
important it is to write your plans down, well, your goals down, because you say
Yeah,
that plan, you need to have plan, and usually we'll want to write plans because plans that are written look more like plans. So are you saying that it is extremely important to write down your goals?
absolutely. It's critical. Without writing it down, and it's the same thing for a positive mindset, right? It's
Right.
so easy to focus on the negative, but if we take the time to actually remember and write down the positive things people say about us, like
Right.
Dr. Canute, you have an amazing podcast, you're a
Right.
phenomenal host.
Mhm.
It's easy to forget that, but when you write that down and you put it on a post-it note, or you just look at that every day,
Yeah.
wow, that is so powerful. But
Mhm.
it's so easy to forget, and it's so easy to focus on the negative, right?
I
Which is
know,
what,
right?
as human, that's what we do most of the time. We complain, we but it doesn't help us, right?
Yeah.
complaining, being bitter. All these things don't help us grow as people.
Mm.
So it's so important that we literally put in writing not just our dreams and goals, but also
Right.
the positive things about ourselves, so we can remember, oh, that's my why. That's why I'm doing this. Because if we don't have a purpose or have something that makes our heart beat,
Right.
it's like what am I doing this for, right?
Yes. Yes.
We need to have that motivation to have somebody believe in us,
Yeah.
to have some reason for doing what we do.
Yeah. Yeah. The existentialist said that you have to have a purpose. You have to have something looking forward for. If not, you're not living. And
That's right. Yeah, it's so true. Love that. Yeah.
yeah. Adversities. We talked about adversities earlier, but I'd like to find out from you, how can we overcome adversities in our life?
So the first thing that I would say it is, who are the people you're spending your time with?
Mhm.
Are the people you're spending with, are they do they work? Do they have dreams? Do they have goals? Are they doing good things? Are they doing bad things? Because if we're spending time with people who don't have big dreams and goals,
Right.
and we're spending time with a group of bandits or people that are doing bad things,
Yeah.
chances are we're going to be doing bad things too, because
Yeah.
that's a group we're in. That is the mindset, and that
Mhm.
mindset is effective to us in any group that you join, right?
Right.
So I surround myself with friends who are positive people. They're happy. They have big dreams and goals, and
Yeah.
um, that rubs off on me, right?
Yeah.
So then
Yeah.
I see that, and it pushes me to raise the bar higher and to
Yeah.
shoot
Right.
shoot
Yeah.
for the stars, right?
Yeah.
I really want to do this, and it just gives you ideas too, right? Because
Yeah.
they just talk about things, whether it's stocks or business or whatever it may be. I always learn from them, and it's a positive thing, right? So
Yeah.
the group that we spend our time with is probably one of the number one things I would say. Also, any hardship or adversity that you're facing, with any obstacle, somebody has had that obstacle
Definitely.
before you, somebody else. So instead of reinventing the wheel, find the people that have already done it successfully and reach out to them and be like, hey, how did you do that? I want to learn how to do this.
Yeah.
Give, or give them something and they'll give something back. Have an exchange going, right? Where that is like extremely powerful, to be with the people that have already done what you're trying to do. They've been there, they've done that, they know these obstacles, they know how to do it. So you don't have to spend forever trying to figure it out yourself, right? And this is why for self-publishing, um, I decided to go with the topic of parenting, right? Because
Mhm.
there's different opinions and different viewpoints of how you want to look at something. So, but at the end of the day, right, we're just trying to figure out a solution, right,
Yeah.
to to reach our goals. So the people you spend your time with, and having a mentor or somebody that's been there before you and can guide you towards the
Yeah.
right path
Mhm.
path is extremely important to overcoming adversity.
Yeah. I think it was Henry Ford who had said, if you ask the expert about something, opinion, they would say, hey, this is 1,000 ways how not to do it. Right?
Yes. he
I,
I love, yeah, Henry Ford's brilliant man. Also,
oh,
like
yeah.
Walt Disney, he struggled a lot, but he was also very successful. But one of my favorite quotes from him too is, he also said, whether you believe you can or cannot do it, you're right either way. It's the mindset, right? And it's so powerful because it's the mindset. If you tell yourself like, man, this is hard, I don't know if I can do this, that is how you'll manifest yourself as not being able to do it, because
Yeah.
you've already accepted that as your fate. But
Yeah.
if you say, um, I can do this, I will do this, or man, this is hard, but I'm going to get through this. I'm going to figure out how to do it no matter what. Then you will figure it out,
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
because that is what we manifest.
Another quote I heard is that if somebody asks you to do something, if you can do something, say yes. And then you figure it out later. If you don't know how to.
Yeah, there's a celebrity, Tina Fey. She's like a comedian. She said she's somebody that said that. I don't know who first coined that, but
Yeah.
yeah, she also said that, like, say yes, figure it out later. Because right, it's so easy for us, like, whatever we're trying to do or accomplish to like,
yeah,
oh well, I got this problem, I got that problem. It's like, no, just say yes now and you'll figure it out as you go.
yes,
And
yes,
that's been part of my speaking journey, you know. So
yeah,
it's the case for a lot of people. Whatever you're doing, you're going to
yeah,
hit roadblocks. You just have to say yes.
yeah,
Don't lose out on the opportunity, and it will motivate you, and it will figure it out. You know.
yeah, definitely. You're listening to Canyouth Exploration. You're a topic in the podcast. I am Dr. Canyouth White, sitting in with Avi Wolfson. I got that. All right, Avi.
Yeah.
Defeatism. We talked about that in sports and politics. As it relates to anything that we have done, even ourselves, basically uh, suffer defeat. And defeatism, according to the dictionary, is an attitude of expecting defeat or of accepting defeat with the belief that further efforts would be useless. What's your views on that?
I think defeatism is quite dangerous
Mm,
because it's kind of the opposite of a positive can do. It's an attitude that doesn't serve us, right? It's a
yeah.
very negative thing. I don't see anything. The only thing I could say about
Mhm.
defeatism itself is bad. I don't. I think it just is a bad belief, like jealousy. There's nothing good about jealousy. I
Mhm.
mean, maybe you could say it will motivate you to
Yeah.
try to reach higher, right? And maybe the same thing you could say about defeatism. Like
Yeah.
if you have that attitude, maybe you get sick of it, and then it will motivate you. But the core of defeatism to me sounds really bad. Like that is just a bad mindset. But
So,
what I do think is
mm,
important, Dr. Canute,
yeah.
on that topic is balancing realism with optimism, which is
Okay.
something I talk about as a speaker, right? Because
I like that.
if you think that everything in life is going to go your way and you're going to be successful at everything you do, you're going
Yeah.
to be severely disappointed because
Mhm.
we aren't meant to be good at everything we do in life, but we can be good at a lot of things.
Yeah.
So it's good to balance realism because if we don't balance realism, we just say, oh, I can do anything, I can do this, I can do that. And you know what? We have to give things a fair chance. And there is no, it's a gray area. You kind of have to decide for yourself
Right.
when you've given it your all, right? And
Mhm.
you're not going to dedicate your life to a cause not worth pursuing
Right.
or something you just don't care for, maybe. So it's if we're talking about balance and realism with optimism, but that's
Right.
not defeatism itself is like
Okay.
I can't do this. I'm terrible at it. Maybe defeatism comes after the fact of you've given it your all and you're still not good at it. You've been trying it for a long time. You're like, hey,
Yeah.
I tried kicking the soccer ball. It's not going. I've been trying this for a very long time. Maybe I should try a different sport.
Yeah. Because defeatism is basically saying, hey, I accept defeat and I don't think it's worth trying again. Right? But
Yeah,
you're
yeah,
saying, hey, optimism. You keep going. You fall, but get up, brush yourself off, and move again.
yeah.
And unlike what defeatism is suggesting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and there are things that we'll get better at over time,
Mm,
and then
yeah.
sometimes there'll be things that we don't get better at, and that's okay. But
Yeah.
we need to recognize where do you draw that line because right, we only have a finite amount of time in life, and time is our most valuable resource. Not it's not money, it's time. So where
Yeah.
do we want to put that time? We don't want to waste it, especially on something that
Mhm.
maybe if we dedicate our lives to, we never become the best at it.
Yeah.
So it's very important that we do decide where to put our time into. Yeah, consider all of that.
Right. Important. Do you believe, though? Do you believe that it's possible to grow through struggles and achieve greatness?
Absolutely. I think that is absolutely possible, and I think there's a great quote actually by Bob Marley, and
Yeah.
he said the greatness of a man is not in how much wealth he acquires,
Mhm.
but in his ability to affect those around him
Yeah.
positively.
Okay.
And I think that really covers it um, in terms of like how we go out in the world and present ourselves in
Yeah.
trying to find what it is that we're great at.
Yeah. 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 I heard you talk about parenting and your work. as it relates to parenting. Talk to me about parenting as it relates to what good parenting really constitute.
I think good parenting at the core of it is a good connection between a parent and a child. Um, you know, when I was young, so I remember something. Again, I talked about bad parenting and how I learned
Yeah,
how to do good things. My parents never took an interest in what I was interested in.
yeah,
The only thing they cared about was religion, and nothing else mattered.
yeah,
So the love was conditional based upon your commitment to religion and how religious you were. So I did not fit into that. I was like the black sheep, right? So
yeah,
they looked at me like, oh, is terrible, right? I'm useless, right? Because I don't fit into that perfect box of who they wanted me to become. And I had a totally different idea, and I knew that from a very
yeah.
young age. And
Mhm.
so, good parenting to me is unconditional, right? My childhood, it was very conditional. For me, I'm
Right.
unconditional. My daughter, she wants to do something, I'm going to support her no matter what. I
Yeah.
always tell her, I love her and I want to hear about what she's interested in. And I
Right.
try, I'm not always interested. I don't really care about when she wants to show me her face routine or do her nails. I'm like,
Right.
okay, go.
Right. Yeah.
She's like, oh, but dad, will you just come watch me do my face routine? I'm like, oh my God. Okay, okay, I'll do it. And I really don't want to,
Yeah. Yeah. I
but
understand.
I do it anyways. I suck it up
Yeah. Yeah.
because
Yeah. Mhm.
if I don't do that, then when she gets older, she's going to say, man, my dad never really cared about the things I
Mhm.
cared about.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that to me is true love. When you take, even if you yourself are not excited about it, do it for
Right.
your kid,
Yeah.
do it for your child. It will make them so happy. If you take an interest in what they do, you play with them, you show them interest in the things that they're interested. That is the core.
Yeah.
You become a parent. You're a parent figure, and you also can be their friend, where they look at you as not somebody who just rules like a authoritative figure, like this is bad, this is good. Nope, that will not leave a good mark on their
Yeah.
childhood. What
Mhm.
will is being involved in the things that they're interested in, taking interest in them. That will go so far, and I think that's one of the reasons why, because I learned that from my parents that they didn't do that,
Yeah.
and I do that, and because of that, I have a very good bond with my daughter.
Oh, cool. Cool. Avi, the average age of my guest is about say 47s. Around that line. I have had guests who are in the 30s and even 70s, and 99% of my guests have had adversities in their childhood. They have had bad childhood, poor childhood, challenging childhood. Why do you think that had happened, especially to the age group that I had mentioned?
It's interesting. The different generations have totally different mindsets, right? Um, I think in that generation we're
Yeah,
talking about, it was a lot rougher. People were conditioned differently. I think the world has softened up a bit. We're kind of more liberal in how we allow people to make choices to do what they want to do. There's a lot more distraction and noise now with social media,
yeah,
screens, all this stuff that we didn't have. Like, and in some ways, it's worse, right? Because,
yeah,
for example, cell phones, we don't need you don't memorize numbers anymore. Back in my day, I had to memorize the phone number. Oh yeah, and
yeah.
it made because when you memorize things, it's an exercise for your
Right,
brain,
right,
right?
right.
Right now
Definitely.
we're not using our brain. We're letting the phone just store it as a name. So if you lose your phone, you don't know maybe you know your mom and dad's phone number, but
Right.
you don't have anybody's phone number memorized in
Mhm,
your head.
mhm.
So we're using our brains less. We're pushing it. We're giving it away to technology
Yeah,
to
yeah,
do it for us, and that ultimately is not a good thing.
yeah.
Um, I think technology can be used to help us learn better. And there's a great quote also. I don't know if you heard of this guy Jim Quick, um, but he's about all about learning and tapping into memory. And
Right.
one of the things he said that not if knowledge is power, then learning is a superpower. And
Yeah.
that is very true because we all learn. I learn differently from you. You learn differently from me. I'm more of a hands-on learner. I have to do
Oh,
something. Some people are more visual. You know what I mean? So we
yeah,
all we
yeah,
all lear-
yeah,
we
yeah.
all learn differently, and it makes a huge difference. So overcoming those adversities in different generations is just
Mhm.
it really just comes down to
Yeah,
nature and nurture, right? How we were
right.
brought
Yeah.
up, the environment we were in,
Mhm.
and the people around us. It all plays an important part in shaping us as
Yeah,
to who the people we become. But at the end of the day, this is a quote from Anne Frank. She said, "Parents can only give good advice or set children on the right paths,
yeah,
but the final forming of a person's character lies in their own hands."
yeah.
And
Interesting.
that's a very true quote.
Yeah,
Um, you know, uh, childhood does affect us, and it does play an important part. But we can rewire. We have the ability. We have that capability, and it's not always easy. For me, I didn't know till I was a young adult that I had a bipolar disorder and also a major depressive disorder.
mhm, mhm.
And what I learned is, like I mentioned before, it's all about the attitude and our mindset about
Yeah,
it, right? I
yeah,
can accept myself as being a victim and I'm less,
mhm,
or I can say, hey, depression has taught me gratitude
yeah,
for the people in life that I have that make
mhm,
me happy. When I feel manic and I have all this built up energy
mhm.
that's really powerful, I can channel that into something into something positive
Yeah,
rather than something destructive or negative, right?
yeah,
So it's a choice. We
yeah,
can take these things that are perceived as, bad medical conditions, but we can use them for good. There's always a different way of looking at things.
yeah,
And if we look at things in a positive way, it helps us learn, it helps us grow, and it helps us overcome that adversity.
yeah. You know, Avi, you talk about learning in different ways. For me, it's talk about visual. Yeah, I'm a literary learner. I have to read to get it, right?
Interesting.
So
Yeah.
yeah, you have the literary learner. You have those who are the realists. You know, you go out there, you have to take those persons to and field trips and so on to see what's going on, to learn it. And you have the pragmatists who have to experience it, who have to be a part of it, participate
Yeah.
to learn it. But next thing you had talked about in terms of technology, and that's very interesting. And it speaks to the bad effect of technology, because technology can be bad. The cell phone, the advanced cell phone technology actually increase robbery and so on. Persons can contact other individuals to set up robbery and so on. And this fast car, the automobile technology, more accidents, new roads. So as things improve, things can get worse. And you know, we have seen that in our lives as we continue to grow through an advanced technological age. But my thing, social media and parenting, because parents are now committed to social media. The phone, we talk about technology, the phone has split the family as well, because everyone not communicating anymore, we're on the phones. So parents are on the social media, children are on the social media. How do we connect with our children as parents, and how do our children connect with us as parents as this technology come between us? Talk to me about that.
That's a great question you raise. So technology, it all depends how we use it. I believe that technology can actually be used for good.
Mhm.
What that looks like for me is my daughter, she wants to play a game,
Yeah.
and I say, "Oh, I'll do that with you," right? So
Okay.
now we're bonding,
Yeah.
with through technology, and that's quite powerful. That
Yeah.
so but it can also be bad, right? She's on TikTok all day, she's
Yeah.
on Instagram, and
Yeah.
it's just nonsense, right? It's just a lot of I see the things she looks at, Doctor
Yeah.
uh,
Hmm.
Canute, and it is just trash. It is
Yeah.
junk. It is just like there is no learning. There is no value at all.
She'll tell you, Avi, that is generational. We call it junk, but she called it something good. Nice it is.
Yeah, but it's just like I look at it and I'm like,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
just don't see much. I don't see much value. Maybe it's because I'm from a different generation than
Right.
her, but I do try to understand it, but um, I have a really hard time like
Yeah. Yeah.
seeing the value in it. But I do like the fact that she is at least using technology, because you see what happens with like people senior or older,
Yeah.
and
Oh yeah.
they have scam call
Yeah.
centers. And
Mhm.
I mean, these call scam centers are bringing in
Yeah.
billions of dollars every
Yeah.
year,
Yeah.
and it's horrible. It's really horrible.
Yeah.
And the younger generation,
Mhm.
they're not going to be able to be victimized like that,
Yeah. Yeah.
because they're going to know the technology. So I am glad that she uses technology and that she's getting comfortable with it. That I think is a good thing, but I think that it's about limiting it, right? Because the other problem with it too is it's bad for the eyes.
Yeah.
Like my daughter, she felt like she was telling me like she felt like she had sand in her eyes, and the doctor
Okay.
said
Mhm.
she's
Yeah.
looking at the screen way
Too
too
much.
much.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
I looked at the screen too much when I was a kid too.
Yeah. No.
Uh, but I watch very little TV now.
Yeah.
I rarely watch it. I just don't like the news. It's very negative.
Yeah. Mhm.
There's rarely any good thing on the
Yeah.
news. So
Incidentally, how old is your daughter?
she's 12.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, she
Cool.
turned 12 this past May. Yeah, she graduated from sixth grade.
Yeah.
It was really nice. Yeah, she's doing great.
Yeah.
Very happy, good kid.
Yeah.
Very
Yeah.
blessed.
Yeah. What a follow and that question relates to your daughter. Yes, she's 12. Just graduated from high school. That high school, right? Yeah. She
Sorry, elementary school.
elementary school, right?
Yeah, sixth grade.
Right.
Sixth grade, she finished.
Okay, fine. Oh yes, yeah. That age. So she just graduated from elementary school. You as a
Correct.
dad, are you uh, a single parent?
I am. I'm separated.
Okay,
So
that's fine. Yeah.
me and her mom separated when she was 2 years old. We haven't lived together. I
Yeah.
have my daughter on weekends,
Okay. Okay.
and
Sure.
that's the arrangement we have. Yeah.
Yeah. Good. So I can ask a question now. How do you as a dad, right, single parent, contribute to her development, being a male? What do you put into her headspace so that she can understand the society better from a male's perspective?
I teach her the value of hard work,
Yeah.
because my parents didn't do that. They did things that left me with a lot of guilt and shame, right?
Yeah.
But I was lucky in that I had good friends, and they taught me good values.
Right.
And
Right.
from those good values, I passed them on to my daughter. You have
Yeah.
to work hard. You got to go to college. You got to study.
Yeah.
You got to get a degree. You got to find what it is that makes your heart beat and that you're excited about and that you want to do in life. Figure it out as early as possible what it is that you want to do.
Yeah.
Um, and so that is one thing that I put out to her. Also, healthy relationships,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
me and her mom did not have a good relationship at
Okay.
all.
Okay.
And I want to make sure that she is in healthy relationships in
Yeah.
her life, and she thinks for herself,
Yeah.
as an independent thinker, and to think critically too. So these are things that I talk to her about, and I just try to show her as much love and affection as I can. And also, I'm trying to condition her to be tough too, because it's very tough. And I feel like
Yeah.
my parents were not tough on me, and as a result, I dealt with a lot of things that made it very difficult for me.
Yeah.
So a lot of my opinions and thoughts about parenting and how I parent my daughter
Yeah.
oftentimes reflect on what my parents did or didn't do for me,
Right.
and
Uh-huh.
what was good or bad.
Yeah. You know, you're a good father. I hear
Thank
it, and
thank
trust me, I'm very impressed with you, and
thank
and
you,
and
Doctor King.
and you are indeed a role model for other dads. I want you, as we close. No, before I close, are you doing any business? Are you do you have an organization, an entity that you use as a conduit to educate others? Talk to me about that first.
Absolutely, yes. So I want to tell you, Dr. Canute, about All Star Parent. It is a Substack newsletter, which is, I don't know if you've heard of Substack. It's a newsletter platform where you can add people can subscribe. They can read your
Right.
content. It's kind of like Medium but different.
Mhm.
So it's a parenting newsletter, and we cover all different topics of parenting because as parents, I'm one of the co-founders. We
Right.
all really struggled because there's so much noise, right? This is
Yeah.
a point I was trying to make before to you, in that like there's a lot of noise, and like
Yeah.
to find the information that you want can be really tough,
Mhm.
and that can be one of the biggest frustrations of adversity, is
Right.
that we don't know where the answer is. We're trying to find a needle in the haystack.
Yeah.
So we wanted to solve that problem of giving parents the
Yeah.
knowledge that they're looking for, and not having to spend months and months or years to
Yeah.
find the answers to the questions. We take all the top authority parenting figures in the industry that
Okay.
are most well known, and we take their podcasts that are an hour long. We
Yeah.
make them into a 5-minute read. So
Okay. Cool.
so it's quick, it's easy to just find the answers. If you're having trouble with your teenager or your toddler or whatever it is that you're struggling with in parenting,
Yeah.
we have a newsletter that you can read in 5 minutes to get your answer.
So across the screen, those persons listening on their favorite podcast platform may not be able to see it. That's your website.
It's on Substack. So
Right.
All Star Parent uh, Substack.com is
Okay.
so it's
So Avi Wolfson.com. It's different. It's a different email. Sorry, it's a different website.
oh yeah, so my
Okay.
name, that's my speaking
Oh,
website. i'm
okay.
also i'm also a professional speaker. So
Right.
yeah, that's my speak. I'm very active on LinkedIn. And then because we were talking about parenting, I also figured
Right.
I'd mention
Okay.
All
Okay.
Star Parent.
I got you.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So this website, aviolson.com, is your speaking website.
Yes,
So give
yes.
me again the parent website.
The parent website is just give me 1 second here.
That's okay. We're talking to Avi Wolfson. Yes.
It's allstarparent.substack.com.
Do you want to spell those out, Avi? Because there are
Yeah,
persons
yeah,
listening.
absolutely.
Yeah, no.
So it's ALLSTARPARENT.SUBSTACK.com.
All right, you heard it. And those of you who are listening, if you miss anything, you can just rewind. That's technology again, and you get it and get it right. The final thing I'd like to ask you to do: talk to the parents who have been separated and have children in the midst. Talk to them.
Absolutely, that's so important. And the
Go ahead.
Yeah, and what I learned years ago when my daughter was first born, it doesn't. You don't have a child does not need to have two parents. They just need one that is supportive to that child. A child only needs one. They do not need two. They can still be okay, but they do need a parenting figure, and they only need one. They do not need two. The second thing that's very important:
Mhm.
if you do not do well with your partner and you're a single parent and you guys argue a lot, if you decide, I think I'm right, but I'm not and you refuse to argue, even if
Right.
you are a hero to your child, you are a hero to that child.
Mhm.
If you do not engage in arguing in front of a child, it's okay to argue, but do not ever do it in front of a child. And if it does happen in front of a child, do not engage, do not argue back, because the child will see that and it will hurt them.
Yeah.
So remember that you are a hero if you do not argue in front of your child, even if you feel you're right. Do not do it. wait for an opportunity to do it when the child is not present.
Okay. Yeah, that's interesting though. Yeah, I love that. And
Yeah,
I'm sure that my guests, sorry, my audience will understand what you're saying, and it it will improve their parenting skills, and the what the children get from the parenting process. It's nice talking to you, Avi.
likewise.
You
Thank you
have
so
said a
much.
lot, and I've learned a lot from you. And I will say this again: you are a good daddy, and
Thank you.
keep up the good work. All right,
Thank
thank
you
you
so
for
much.
coming.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Canute.
Bye bye. So that was Avi Wolfson, and he talked about his daughter and the challenges that he have had as a child, and how that has helped him to be a better parent, and indeed a better single parent, so to speak, because of the separation and the co-parenting process, and he gave you tips about how to be good parent, and how to contribute to your children's life, or to support by being participatory, despite the fact that you would not want to participate, and or to grow girls, because he, as a dad, he's growing a girl, and I have a girl in my life as well, and I am prepared to grow her and grow her well. So I've learned a bit from him, and it's important that you listen. Thanks, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Canyouth Exploration. We'll talk again. Goodbye.